Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Alright, we were in this enable features part where we've gone through the multiple prices, quantity pricing and all last night. We have shipping and receiving wherein you can enable the pick, pack and ship part of whenever you fulfill an item. There are 3 stages of item fulfillment. One is pick, packing and then shipping. Right. You can enable all 3 of them. If you do not want it, then after the item fulfillment, it directly goes to the shipment. Advanced subscription billing. Subscription billing itself is an advanced concept. In fact, for the sales orders to be billed. Right. Subscription billing in the sense you can actually bill your customers like once in a month, once in 2 months. You can actually time-based pricing can be set up. That entire invoicing does not happen at once. Right. That's about the auto management. One more important feature that we got to check is the items and inventory. Under the items and inventory, you have drop shipments and special orders. Do you have an idea what this is? Drop shipments. I think this is a case whereby you don't take direct access to the inventory. Right. I think you ship to a third-party website or something It's more of the manufacturing side. But like I said, I'm not doing manufacturing anyway. Correct. The drop shipments. Actually, what happens is this, there are, let's say the item is very expensive or, maybe it's too huge to be kept in a warehouse. Right. Those items we actually do not buy from the vendor and keep it in our warehouse. I mean, the business use case, if you think about it like heavy vehicles, maybe a tower crane or, an erection tower, any big equipment. Right. In that case, what they do is they define this as a drop ship item. And when you create a sale order with this drop ship item, a related purchase order gets created automatically. Right. With that particular specific vendor which is mentioned on that item. This vendor will ship the material directly to the customer rather than coming into our warehouse. That's what dropship is all about. Right. And special orders. Special orders is they do come to our warehouse, but then we don't buy them in advance. Too expensive items. We may not want to buy it even before we have an order from the customer. We place a sale order and then the purchase order gets created. The vendor ships out the material to us and then we ship it out to the customer. That's what your special order is all about. If you enable this part, right? If you enable the drop shipments and special order items, then at the item level, you will have an option where you can either select it as drop ship or you can select it as special order. You cannot do both at a time. Any given item would actually have only one, either drop ship or special order. And items are the ones which are, similar looking items with different sizes, with different colors like in clothing industry. Let us say when we take the clothes, right? You might have XL small, double XL. Same kind of, same item code with different kind of sizes in them. Right. That's what gives us an option to generate these matrix items automatically. There is a provision wherein I'll show that to you when we are creating the items. We have enabled the matrix items for now. I'm going to show you how these things actually work when we create the matrix items. With a single item, let us say you talk about a shirt, right? That created as a shirt. And then you can specify that as red, blue, orange, yellow, any color. And then in different sizes, red XL shirt, red small shirt, red long shirt. Likewise, you can create multiple items with these combinations. All you've got to do is define these attributes first. Right. If you want colors, you have to define them as red, blue, yellow, and orange. And if you want the sizes, you've got to define it as small, XL, double XL. When you do that, you can just select these attributes and click on Create Matrix Items. And it automatically creates all those set of matrix items for us. Multiple vendors. You can define the item codes and purchase prices for multiple vendors on each item record. Async, when you create an item, probably for a vendor you want. When you purchase it from vendor, you get it for $100. Item vendor B, you get it for $450 or $110, $10.99. Now any different prices can be specified. And if you enable this, gift certificates, you can actually provide those gift certificates to your customers and they can redeem against the sale order. That's what we're going to do when we do that. Barcoding and item labels. Again, this is for manufacturing. Probably you may not want to explore deep into that because you're not dealing with manufacturing anyways. And if you want to enable inventory items, then this is what it needs to be there. If this is not selected, then the inventory items will not be there. The multi-location inventory. You can track your inventory for multiple locations like, maintaining a total note per location. What I meant to say was when you go to your items. Let me open up one item for you. This is a filter wherein you can search for different items, different type of items. I'm going for an inventory item. Let's say I pull up this Apple Watch. And when I do that in the purchasing tab, when we scroll down, you will have all the locations listed over there. You see this? These are different locations now. Cloud location. Cloud location 123 Orinder, Lincoln, Maine, US, Midwest. All these are locations wherein the quantity on hand, what is the value of that quantity. What exactly is the average cost of that? If you have any on order, right? On sale order. If this is on sale order and not fulfilled, then it shows quantity on order, quantity committed, right? All these things will be visible for you. Quantity available, quantity back ordered. All these things will be visible for you when you enable this multi-location inventory tracking. Got. You can have the assembly items again. This is the bill of material that you can enable along with the work orders, in fact. This is all for the manufacturing part. The advanced bill of materials, work orders, serialized inventory, lot tracking, right? Serialized inventory in the sense you can actually generate series of inventory, right? Lot tracking also, you must be knowing each lot. We can actually specify what is the lot number for each lot. And that can be, you can actually see the reports lot wise. Bin management is within the locations you can have bins wherein each slot can be specified with a bin. I mean, when you enable this bin management, whenever you're trying to do an item receipt, it will ask you to, place the material in one of the bins which you have created already. Advanced numbering and inventory status, warehouse management. All these are, and one of these is landed costs. You know what landed cost is? This can be enabled or disabled. Demand planning, material required planning. DRP, MRP. All these things come as part of the manufacturing. Since we have enabled the manufacturing, that is why you see all these options here available to promise MRP. Material requirement planning, distribution, resource planning, demand planning. All these will not be available if you do not have manufacturing enabled. In your instance, probably you do not have the manufacturing right. You will not see all these features at all. Alright, then comes this is the HMS thing. I mean human capital management, wherein you have your compensation tracking. This is an additional module. It will not come with the base or in any warehouse and distribution, any manufacturing queue that you install. All these will not be available. This is a part of the human capital management. Got. And this is the customer relationship management. There is a Salesforce automation in place on NetSuite, right? What this Salesforce automation does is when you create a lead within the system, right? That lead, there are different stages of an entity of a customer. It is a lead. The next stage is a prospect and the next stage is a customer. When you create a lead within the system and you're associating an opportunity within that lead, right? You're trying to create a transaction which is an opportunity. When you create an opportunity, the lead automatically converts to a prospect. And when that opportunity is converted to a sales order, then the prospect automatically converts to a customer. That is a part of the Salesforce automation. And there's marketing automation as well. I will show that to you. There are some online. This lead conversion that I was talking about, right? There are certain online customer forms that we can create and make them available for the customers. Like you can create an online form with the first name, last name, city name, phone number. And what is the query, right? When someone submits that online form, he automatically becomes a lead on NetSuite. Regarding the CRM and the Salesforce integration, how does that work? Does it mean that when you buy NetSuite, you have access to Salesforce? Or how does it really work? We will not have access to Salesforce. But then there is a small integration which is already in place. There is something called as online customer form, online lead form. This is the online customer form that I'm talking about. What happens is you can create your own form and then you can specify what is the customer last name, first name, what is the query that they would like, right? All these things can be specified and this can be put as an external link. I will show that to you when we come to the transactions, right? I will show exactly these forms have to be created. And once these forms are created, when someone clicks on that, let me see if we already have one form. There is one form which is already available. What happens is this is the form that I created. First name, last name, email, country name. If you go to this external part, there will be a publishable form URL that you will get. The customers will mask this URL form and say submit a query or something like that. I mean, they will rename this form, and this is how it works. You can specify your first name, last name, email. What is the country that you belong to, company name. And of course, you can put in the comments section as well, just to understand what is the query about, right? Once this form is submitted, then this particular person with the first name, last name, if it is not matching with the existing customer, then he can be on the NetSuite system automatically. You want to try that? Maybe just, let's try that. When I do this now, this is an online customer form that gets. You can put in the comments as well, by the way. When you are creating that form, there are many options that you can do. What I did right now is, I submitted this client form. Now, when I go back to my NetSuite, once this is done, it will read out to the one of the websites which is mentioned on that form. On this form, you can actually mention what is the website that you want this to be. Rerouting it to as well. Redirect to URL. That's how it got redirected. Now when I go into NetSuite, I go into lists, relationships, and I go to the leads. Hey, this is the lead which got generated. You see this. The primary contact, along with everything the email address would be there. Everything would be listed down. And then whenever you put in the comments, this is where the comments would come up. And this particular lead can be assigned to a sales rep. In fact, there's an automation for the sales rep assignment as well. I will show that to you a little later when we do the transactions. That's how the Salesforce automation is in place. Coming to this support. Does your customer has internal support as well? Which means, do they want to maintain the support cases internally wherein the customers can contact them? The support cases will be assigned to the support representatives. They can get in touch with the customers. Something like an Amazon or Amazon support. Right. Contact them and then they can resolve the issues right. Right. That can be enabled here. Email, case capture, automated case escalation, issue management, and everything can be enabled here. Just like the way we have the online client form, we also have the online support form as well. You go to support and then there is online case form as well. When someone puts in a case with the first name, last name, and all this automatically creates a case with a NetSuite wherein you go to support. And these are the cases. A case can be created and this can be assigned to the support representatives and they can resolve those issues. Got it. We'll see that as well. It doesn't take much time for us to go through that as well. And then the marketing. There is a marketing feature which is called marketing to return on investment. The different modules that you have on NetSuite. We have discussed far our record to report, which is for financials. Procure to pay is for purchasing. Order to cash is for sale. Design to build is the item structure that you actually build, and of course the manufacturing part as well. And then you have lead to quotation, lead to quote, which is the lead conversion that we spoke about a little while ago, right? The lead getting converted to a prospect getting converted to a customer based on the transactions that we do with them. right? That's what is your lead to quote all about. And then you have marketing to return on investment, which means you can send some flyers to your customers. You can send promotional content. You can create some email templates. You can create certain promotional templates. What do you call them? Just a second. Marketing templates and marketing campaigns, right? You can create these marketing campaigns, and whoever has opted in your customers, if they have soft opted in for the marketing campaigns, then we can send them the flyers. Let us say until the end of the month, we are running a promotion wherein if you buy and product, you'll get it for 10% discount, right? You can create those email templates. Those are called the marketing templates, by the way. Those marketing templates can be created, and then the campaigns can be linked with the marketing templates. And you can define the date and time as to when these emails have to be triggered. Let us say I want this email to be triggering on 25th April 25th at around 12 am. Exactly. That can be set up, and you can create the marketing campaigns. Once you enable all these options, campaigns can be done, capturing of email replies that you have there. All these things can be done when you deal with the marketing part. This is Suite Analytics. Now this is a very advanced analytics part. NetSuite gives a lot of standard reports. All the reports are available here. When I go into the reports, it's on a different page. Every module has got its own reporting structure. If you see, you have financials. You have sales and sales orders, clients, receivables and order management, inventory and commissions, marketing and cases, pipeline analysis. You click on each, you know each module, and you get detailed reporting structure for everything. The income statement, the balance sheet, comparative balance sheet, all these things we will have information about. What Suite Analytics does is, it is an advanced way of reporting where you can join. You can combine a lot of reports and prepare one particular report. That is all about analytics. This is the analytics page. This also comes with an additional cost, actually Suite Analytics, where you can create your own workbooks. There are some data sets that you have. We'll discuss that in just as a brief topic later on, but this is how you can create your own data sets. You can create click on the data set. You can choose what you want to have this report built on. Maybe on the accounts or on the orders, or the purchase orders, or the bill of material bins. All the fields that you have on your reports now can be brought into this particular reporting structure on the analytics. Got it? That's about the analytics. The Suite Cloud is all related to the technical part. Actually, the advanced PDFs, the Suite scripts, the Suitelets custom plugins, custom transactions, and all. The custom segments. If you see this is a part of this, and that's how we missed it earlier because usually we don't come to this tab. Suite Cloud is completely for the technical consultants who deal with NetSuite. We got it. Using these Suite scripts and Suite flows, they can actually build certain scripts to be working. If they want any functionality which is not NetSuite standard, then they can actually build these reports. Not the reports, the functionality using Suite scripts and Suitelets. They can develop all these, technical part. For certain transactions like approvals, let us say for the purchase order approval or a sale order approval for certain things, you have the workflows which can be defined. But there are certain advanced things that cannot be done with the help of a workflow. In that case, they can actually use this suite, scripts and suitelets. Alright, we're done with the enable features. Now let's jump on to the accounting preferences quickly. Alright, these are the different options that you have on accounting preferences. This use account numbers. What happens is when you go to your chart of accounts. I think you just passed it. Did I pass it? On the chart of accounts, if you see for each chart of accounts, you can specify a number like this. Now, this is not an account number, by the way, but this is not a bank account number, by the way, but this is a number which can be generated internally and maintained for each chart of account that you have. This particular preference will be available only if you enable this. If you don't enable this, then the numbering will not be available for the chart of accounts. Use legal name in the accounts. When you go into the chart of accounts, there is a legal name option that you can have here, right? This will not be available if this is not enabled. Show all transaction types and reconciliation. Whenever you're reconciling your bank statements, right? The payables, the receivables that you have, all the transactions that you've done, the credit payment, the credit card payments, the check payments that you have done. All these things you would end of the month. You would have to reconcile that, right? You got to get the bank statement and see what all transactions have been done. And you need to match those statements with the NetSuite transactions that you've done, right? Usually, when you import the bank statements through a CSV import, then obviously it just checks in for the amount, the date and the transaction number. And it automatically knocks off. Let us say there is a positive on the bank account. Whenever there is a positive that you have received the payment on NetSuite, it's going to be a negative, a credit, right? And then it knocks off both the transactions in that way. And just in case, if it doesn't, then there is a manual way of matching these transactions as well. Do you want to show all transaction types in the reconciliation? Is what this actually mentions here. Expand account list. On the chart of accounts, you will have the parent accounts and you have the child accounts as well, right? Like this. The First Capital Bank is a child of the bank account. If you want these listings to be differentiated or not, is what this preference is. Do you want to have the aging reports based on the transaction date or the due date? Usually in a normal business scenario, it's always due date. Right. That's where you can mention. And why transactions using reversing journal entry? When you're creating a journal entry, if you enable this option, there is I'll just show that to you. Right. When we are making these journal entries, if you enable that particular option, then there will be a reversing journal entry date that gets automatically enabled. You can select the date. Let us say I'm doing it on 21st of April. However, I want to reverse these transactions as on April the 30th. You can do that. And automatically reversing journal entry gets created for that particular option there for this journal entry. Do need require on approvals on journal entries. Allow user events on both journal entries. All these are some of the preferences that you have. Allow GL custom segment deletion. Custom segment that we have created earlier. Right. Do you want that to be? I mean, if the administrator would want to delete that. Do you want to allow that or not? Is this custom segment? For the custom deletion, what happens when you delete? Like, I don't get that. Like, why would you want to delete the segments you? Is it in the journal entry? Is it allowing anybody else to delete it? I don't understand. The business case is that probably a few months later, you do not want to use this GL custom segment anymore, right? In that case, do you want to allow that or not? Usually this is not checked. We do not want somebody to be deleting the custom segments that we've created. That's not a normal business case. But NetSuite has given that option wherein if you want to delete that custom segment, and this is enabling the accounting period of window. Minimum period window size, you can actually mention this like maybe 6 periods that you want. So, Matthew, tell me, look. Matthew, I'm sorry. Alright? Alright, let's continue. No problem. If you enable this part, you are actually maintaining a minimum number of unlocked current and future periods. When you do this, right, we want to unlock like the next 6 months. The minimum period window size can actually be mentioned over here. In certain cases, maybe they want to do some future data transactions as well. Right? They want to enable that minimum period window size to be enabled as part of that. Allow transaction date outside of your posting period. We do not want that to be allowed usually. We don't do that. It's always a disallow. Right. I have enabled this yesterday. Let me see if we got that feature enabled now. I don't think. We will have it because maybe it could be because of the permissions that I have mentioned yesterday. Right. Just trying to see if we got that. Manage accounting periods. There you go. You got it. It took some time, but you see this yesterday. This wasn't there. Close multiple periods. Now what I do is, let's minimize this under unassigned. Maybe I want to close out both. Let's say I want to close till March 2014. January, February also, I want to close. Let's do this. Close periods. March. Let us select March 2014. And say all accounting book. And I click on submit. Everything before March 2014 will be closed as well. Absolutely correct. And you say this all. It says end all previous periods. Right. 2014. Till. Whatever is there before, that will get closed automatically. Let's see if it happened. You see this. All the people closed. Just January, February, March. All these 3 periods have been closed without the checklist. The checklist is a big checklist that you have to follow each and everything. But if you enable this feature, and by the way, you can, give this closed multiple periods permission only to, 1 or 2 people. Maybe the controller or the administrator wherein they would have access to this. The rest of the people do not have. Even if you enable this feature, It's not that everybody would have access to it. Got it. I don't know why it's taking long for these features to be enabled, but I think it's because of it's just a training instance, right? Probably because of that, it's taking certain time. But in a normal production or a sandbox account, it just gets enabled in a fraction of seconds. Got it. We saw this as well, which is good. We have closed it. And then open transactions on statements. Right? On those statements, what do you want? Do you want the open transactions by today or by the statement date? You can actually exclude that. Customer credit limit includes orders. You can say this as well. You can set up a credit limit on a customer or a vendor record. Which means, did my screen go a little dull for you? It's fine. It's fine, right? The charging is turned off. I'm trying to see if I can increase the brightness somewhere here. I don't know. I mean, if it's for you, then we can continue. You're fine, right? Yes, I'm fine for now. That's great. On the customers or on your vendors, you can actually put in certain credit limits like to $1 or $1.500. And once they reach that credit limit, which means if it is in case of a customer, he has not made a payment for 2 orders and already he's reached a credit limit of $1.500. What do you want to do with that customer? There are 3 options. One is one only. The other one is ignored. And the other one is enforce holds, which means if my credit limit has reached with that customer for $1,500, then I cannot process any sales order further. If I select this enforce holds, or if I say warn only, I get a UI warning saying that the credit limit has reached. Do you still want to proceed? It doesn't say do you still want to proceed. It just gives you a warning saying that the credit limit has reached. It's up to the user, whoever is putting in a sales order. Maybe a sales representative or a sales manager who would want to actually specify that. What exactly do they want to do with those sales orders? Do they want to enforce holds, or do they want to ignore, or what exactly do they want to do with it? And these credit limits, do you want to include the present orders or not, which have not been fulfilled yet? Days for you for warning. You can specify what is the number of days. And that can be done. This is a vendor credit limit warnings. This is accounts receivables and this is accounts payables. Do you want the vendor credit limit to be including the orders as well? Vendor prepayment account. You can specify what is the vendor prepayment account and you can specify what is your in-transit payment account. All these things can be done. If you remember, we have enabled locations, departments and classes, right? In the enable features, right? Do you want them to be mandatory on each of the transaction? Is what this preference is. If you make them mandatory, then you will not be able to save the transaction without saving the departments, classes and locations for sure. And now is it possible I specify whether I only want to make them mandatory or maybe expense transactions and not revenue transactions. Unfortunately, NetSuite doesn't have that feature. But you can do one thing. These are the forms. When you go into these forms, you can customize your standard forms that you have. You spoke about the vendor bill wherein you want to make it. You know this location department mandatory, right? You can click on this customize. And usually this is a part of the implementation. Nobody uses these standard forms, but rather they would be using these customized forms that you have under them. These are all the standard forms that you can see right now. But if you click on the customize, I'll show you how the form looks like. One sec. We will see the form customizations in detail later on. You can click on the button. This is a mandatory option. Only for this particular form, you can enable that and get it. So, this is a show option. Right next to it is the mandatory option that you have here. Only for this form, these will be mandatory and you have to select them. It's not a system-wide preference that you're doing. It's just this form by preference. You got it? That means I can also go to the journal entry form and also customize the journal entry form. Absolutely. Let me go to the sales invoice form. Customize that as well. Absolute. You have your journal entry form. This is a standard journal entry. Your customer is this. You can rename it with your customers. Maybe your customer is ICE-B. You can rename that as ICE-B journal entry and then go to the screen fields, scroll down to your location, class, department and make them mandatory here. These things. Let me do this. Let me save this just to show you how things look like. Right? Now I go to transactions, scroll down. And by the way, you can make that form as your preferred form as well. I go here right now. It's my ICE-B journal entry which has come in because this is this. I made this as a preferred form. If you have seen that on the transaction forms. Let me go to the form that I created. Now you see this edit option. This is not customized anymore because this is a custom form for us. Right? I made this a preferred form. You see this. By default, it will come up right. And then you can actually select the standard journal entry as well. Got. If I move to the, hold on. Well, again the same problem. I still don't see them as mandatory. You see this little asterisk right above these options. All these are mandatory. Actually, this form. Let me try putting in one journal entry. Without them being the mandatory option there. The credit automatically comes up because it has to match. Right. Let me try to save this now. Oh, it still is working. This is strange. It's taking some time. However, you will not be able to save if you make the mandatory over there. There will be little asterisk which comes up over the department, class and location, which you have to select them for sure. Only then you will be able to save that particular transaction. This is working for me as of now, but it doesn't work like this. Got? Maybe tomorrow we'll be able to see this. There's a lot of things that you can do in this custom forms. I will show all of that to you when we are dealing with the custom forms for you. Thank you. You can move the elements between your subtabs, right? You can move around the screen fields. You can move from one section of a screen to another one. Like you have journal entry here. You can move the department class location to this classification field or whatever you have. The reversal date can be brought in onto this classification subtab that you have here. All these things can be done, right? And this is the custom option, right? Whenever you create a custom field on any of the forms, those custom fields will actually sit in this particular subtab, but you can pull them out. I'll show them to you, when we are dealing with the forms. Since you've asked me if you can make them mandatory, I just wanted to show you how it was. Sounds good. Thank you. Let's close down the forms. This will always allow per line classification on journals, which means the department class location. Do you want it at the line level or not? At the line level. At the line level. Let's see. If I do allow them at the line level, what does that option exist? You can have the classification at the header. The department classification will be visible here. Got? Or you can actually have it at the line level where you can specify different department class location for each line. I think that makes sense. Because if you're posting a journal entry and you have each line item going to different departments on a single journal, that makes sense. This is for the advanced revenue management again that we spoke about yesterday. The AM part. If you enable that ARM, only then you will be able to see this Advanced Revenue Management only tab here. Or else you cannot see that at all. We have enabled the amortization schedules over there in the enable features. That is why we have this preference for the amortization. Do you want the users to be able to modify the amortization schedule or not, which usually is not done right? No standard journal entry, default amortization journal entry forms. Do you want that to be standard journal entry? Or if you create more than one journal entry form over there, then you can actually, if I can refresh this now, I think the is journal entry form will be available for selection for us. Let's see that. You see this? Since we have created the ISB journal entry form, I refreshed the accounting preferences. You can create your own form for each transaction. Maybe for, let's say for amortization. You want to create a different journal entry form by enabling and disabling certain features that you have in that particular form. You can select that and save it as well. Got it? Yes, what people usually do is under that setup and the forms, right? All these entry forms, all these transaction forms, they customize and create their own forms that any changes they want to make would actually be made on that particular form. They cannot make any, changes on this custom form, the standard form that is generated by the system, right? The standard procedure is that every form, right? Let us say you have 94 forms here. As of now, all these 94 forms will be customized and they will have their own, customer forms like ISB standard bill, ISB standard bonus form, ISB campaign. That makes sense, right? Makes sense. That way, you preserve the standard form, right? Absolutely right. That way, you preserve the standard form the way it is, and all these, you know what? I'll show you something. I had a journal entry form that I created earlier, right, just a while ago. Oops, I think it said the next page. Oh, what happened? Was it not searching? I don't know. Hold on, oops. Or no, voice not searching. This is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the entry forms. This is an entry form wherein you can do the entry with all those forms. Now we have actually created a transaction form, right? Your purchase order, your sale order, your journal entry, the assembly bill form, the invoices, all these are your transaction forms. However, the entry forms are your like client forms, right? Vendor forms. All these are your entry forms that you can create. Let me go into a transaction, and when I go for the ISB journal entry, right, I can either have this as preferred or the other one. When I click this, the other one gets disabled. You see this? There's only one form that you can have as a preferred, the preferred. If I unclick the standard form, it's gonna go away. Right? Absolutely. You see this. Yep. If you want to have a standard form, then the other one goes off. It's one or the other. Absolutely. That makes sense. Let us say you have 5 or 6 journal entry forms. Now, out of those 5 or 6 forms, you can just have one as a preferred form. Got it? But once I select the preferred form, right, if I go to the drop down, will I still see the options for the other forms, which I have shown that you a little while ago, right, when you go to the journal entry, you see this, however, you can click on the show inactives. When I click on the show inactives, there will be an inactive option that you have here. I go to my Where is that is piece thing that I created? Here it is. What I can do is I can just inactivate this form and then click on submit. When that happens, I go to the journal entry. I refresh this. Now I got only one preferred form and the other one is inactive completely. There's no form selection. You see this? The form selection is gone right now. Got it. Because there is only one preferred form that you have for the ISP and the other one is disabled. That's the reason there is no selection. However, if you customize this and create another form, let us say is one form, let me do that. Give me a second. I'm not making this my preferred form because the other one is already preferred for me. Got it? Let me go back to the journal entry. Refresh this now. I think it's just 1 second, right? Now I have 3 journal entry forms. However, one is inactive and the other one is inactive as well. I'm going to activate that, right? If you scroll down, I have 3 journal entry forms. The standard one is inactive, that I do not want anybody to be using the standard form, but I don't have a combination. I mean a selection between ISB and ISB2 journal entry. I go to this transaction. Just go to this journal entry. When I click on new, then I would have a selection between only these two. Got it. This is how we do it. That's about the forms. Let me get back to the thank you. Thank you for sharing that. No problem. These are all little, tricks and tips that you need to know. I'm on NetSuite, right? I mean, whenever you're dealing with NetSuite, there are certain things that you need to know right from the scratch. If you don't have these options enabled or disabled, then you wouldn't know how exactly this form, customizations and everything are. All these things are going to work out right? Basically, if you're struggling to do something but my takeaway from the last few lessons is the accountant preferences and the enable features. Those are like two main things that you really have to make sure they are properly set up. You are absolutely correct, and that is the reason. Whenever I do a functional training, I ensure that I give maximum insight about the enable features, accounting preferences. Got it? Got it. Without knowing the enable features and accounting preference part, you will not be able to do anything on NetSuite right. I mean, you've got to know all the functionality, how, what's enabling. I mean, what happens when you enable certain features? What happens when you enable the related accounting preferences, certain features when you enable? Only then you will get those preferences to be enabled in the accounting preferences, right, like in ARM. That we have done right now. And then there is purchase orders, there is sales orders that you enable. When you do that, the app and R preferences will be available for selection on the accounting preferences, or else you won't have them. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. Enable features account the preferences, right? These are most important things that you have to do when you're setting up any account for that matter. The new instance that you are going to get with your customer, right? The first thing that you would do is do a bundle installation. By the way, do you have a bundle deployment guide to do this bundle installation? No, I'm yet to even start working. My first day of the client will be on Tuesday. Definitely. My next meeting with you may be on Saturday, on Sunday. If I want to meet with you soon, I will let you know. I will have enough information to work with Kalian because I'll be resuming that new job on Tuesday. When I resume on Tuesday, I'll have more information that we can discuss better. Great, no problem. That's about the general tab that you have on accounting preferences. You might be thinking that we are, taking a lot of time discussing these enabled features and accounting preferences, but that's what NetSuite is all about. Right, and for real. Honestly, initially I was thinking that way, but now that I really have a better understanding of what you're doing, I really appreciate the in-depth coverage of those two, because those are like the foundations, right? You have to get the foundations right before you can view anything on top of the foundation. I really appreciate it. That is absolutely right. Without knowing the enabled features and accounting preferences, and that foundation will not be there. Even if I walk you through the purchase order process directly, if I create a subsidiary directly, you will not be able to understand what I mean. You might understand, but you don't know. Where did I enable these features for you to get this right? Right. I really appreciate what you're doing, Kenya, and I'm grateful. I really appreciate it. Let's go back to the Let's go to the next thing, which is items transactions. Coming to the items and transactions tab that you have here. Here is where you specify the default accounts for each of the transactions. Like, a sales discount account, an income account, the COGS. What is your default receivables account? What is your default COGS account? When you specify these things at the global level, right? And when I try to create my item, let us say I want to create an inventory item. I'm just showing you. Why would you default them over here? Oh, I'm sorry, it's gone. We have already defined certain default accounts for all those transactions, right? This is what I was talking about, the matrix item. When you enable, I just switched to a different topic here. When we enable the matrix item, this matrix item assistant and create matrix item would be enabled. Usually this will not be there if you disable that matrix item part. I will show how the matrix item works later on, but for now I'm trying to create a new inventory item, brand new one, and I scroll down, go to my accounting part. You see this now. Cost of goods sold 200. Inventory account 4000. Sales account default revenue. All these have already been set up at my accounting preferences. Usually, for my inventory accounts and everything, there will be same accounts for every item. You will not have, different accounts for different items, right? Let us say the income account is going to be 4000 sales for all the items. You will not have multiple income accounts for those items. That is the reason instead of specifying that for each item, let us say I'm creating 500 items. Now for those 500 items, I don't have to specify separately that my income account is 4000 sales because I've already specified that at the accounting preferences level. Right. And likewise, you can select all these accounts. By the way, You can have your default unbilled variance account, right? You can have your quantity variance account. All these accounts can be specified, but usually a few accounts are not used by default. Maybe the price variance account, the bill quantity variance account. These things are not used in a normal business case scenario. You will have your purchase accounts. You'll have your KIGS accounts. You have the inventory accounts, which are usually used in your purchase order right transaction, in your sales order transaction. All these accounts are used. The payment default payment account. Whenever you want to make a vendor payment, you can have a default vendor payment account selected here. But the one good part about NetSuite is that even if you have them defaulted, you will still be able to select another one at your individual record level. I mean, it's not that once you have set it up at the accounting preferences, everything has to be defaulted the way it is. No, it doesn't work like that. You can still change the accounts just in case if you want to change the accounts in your item record or in your purchase order form or on the income accounts that you have here. All these things can be changed even if you have already selected them as default in the accounting preferences part. Right? That's about the accounts. Now, there you go. Yesterday we were discussing about the quantity based pricing levels. If you remember, like to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 150. How many quantity pricing schedules do you want to have? Is this preference? We had only 5 selected, and that's how I was able to create only 5. You can have 10, 15, 20, how many ever quantity based pricing levels you want. You can actually specify that in this instance here in this accounting preferences. Got it? And you have this preference here because you have enabled the quantity based pricing levels in your enable features. If that is disabled over there, then you will not have this feature at all in this accounting preferences to be able to give that preference to the system. Got it, got it, got it. You've got consolidated projects on sales transactions. On your sales transactions, if you link, are you there visible on your sale reports? Then you can actually select them and knock them out of your sales reports or from your forecasting reports. Good. There you go. This charge-based billing that I was talking about, right? This is a part of your projects. You have charge-based billing. You have fixed date billing. You have a milestone billing. You have a project progress. These are the 4 types of billing that you will have in your projects. Iterate the inventory preferences that you have. You have centralized purchasing in a single location. Well, this is, an advanced feature again. What happens is if you enable the centralized purchasing in a single location. Let us say you have 5 locations, but you want to place all your purchase orders from a single location, right? Like location A is a single point of contact for all the purchasing. However, you can spread or you can, distribute your inventory with 5 different locations. You can purchase from location A and send it to B, purchase from location A, send it to C, purchase from A and send it to D. That's how it works. And your vendoring happens on that location only, the centralized location that you are talking about, right? Location where the vendor bills also have to be paid from that particular subsidiary only. Let's go about that again. Sorry, quickly. You say, I can create a bill in location right and make a payment in location or no payment. You would still be making from location, but you can send the inventory to a different location. I can move even entries from one location. Absolutely right. See, you can place 5 different purchase orders for 5 different locations from one particular location. That is what is your centralized purchasing in a single location. Is what about makes sense? Makes sense. Makes sense. That's fine. Actually, I can enable that and show it to while we are doing the transaction. That's fine. Use preferred bins on item receipt. Whenever you create an item receipt, the use preferred bin will be available. Include landed costs and last purchase price. Do you want to do that or not? Display current count on transfers. Display current count on worksheets, on adjustments. This is all about the manufacturing. Again, on the worksheets, write the design to build. When you're trying these transfer orders, when you're putting in the worksheets, when you're doing the adjustment, inventory adjustments, do you want to have the current count displayed on those transfers? Is what it is. Of course, you can have them. That's not a problem. This is about the payment processing again. All these options that you have. Just in case, I'm covering 90% of all the preferences to be for you. But just if I miss out on a few, then you can just click on these and then see the field help, what it actually does, right? And you may not be able to remember whatever we are speaking now as well. Just in case later on, when you have the instance and you want to know what each preference actually does, then you can do this. That is what your field help actually does. This is enforced. Minimum quantity on return authorization right. When you're doing a return authorization, what is the minimum quantity that you can actually specify that on your item? The minimum quantity of an item is set to 5. A customer ordered 15 units of the item. 2 units of the item are damaged. When they arrive, because minimum quantity is 5, the customer must return at least 5 items, not just 2 damaged items. That is how you can enforce holds on enforce minimum quantity on the return authorizations. Like you have sent 100 items, but only 2 of them are damaged. But you say that if you want to send 10, only then I can receive them, but not 2. That's about the return authorizations. Now coming to the auto management. This is important as well. Now the other things like the balancing segments, accounting books, there's not much on those. Balancing segments is if you want to create them, and this is the approver routing. By the way, NetSuite has got suite approvals routing suite app which is available. That is a standard routing. Like one level of approval will be there, like purchase manager can approve those vendor, those purchase orders and these things. If you enable, only then you will be able to use those standard workflows for the approval routing. If you want the 3-way bill match to be enabled, right? This vendor bills has to be enabled or else the 3-way bill match for the approval will not work. If you don't enable this, vendor bills over here. Likewise, you can enable the journal entries and then you can enable the approvals for your requisitions for your invoices. These are all the standard approvals that you have. Coming to your order management again, right? There are default status that you can set up. What is the default order status? You know, when you create a sale order, do you want that to be default? I mean as pending approval or as pending fulfillment? Which means if I say I don't, I want it as pending fulfillment, then obviously it will not go to the approval. Rather, it will auto approve and get that into a pending fulfillment stage where I have to fulfill that. If it is directly pending fulfillment, then there is no approval in place of when you create your sale order. It goes to pending fulfillment directly, and then you can fulfill that without an approval. Do you want to have a re-approval on edit of sale orders? Usually in all the companies, this is enabled because if someone makes any changes on the sale order, then the approver needs to know about it. Right? That is one option. Send email confirmation when sales orders are cancelled. Do you want to send an email confirmation to your customers? And alright, this is an important configuration that you have here. Just carefully look at it. There are certain default commit options on sales orders. One is an available quantity, the other one is complete quantity, the other one is the third one is do not commit. What this means, let us say there's a sale order for 100 quantity, but in my warehouse right now I just have 50 quantity. What do you want to do with the fulfillment? If I select it as available quantity over here, the NetSuite automatically ships out this 50 quantity, and then there is a back order that gets generated for the other 50. The rest of the 50, that is your available quantity. This is the feature now. If you select that as complete quantity, there were three options, right? One is available quantity and the one is complete quantity. If you select it as complete quantity and you have only 50 available in the warehouse, this item fulfillment will not be processed until you backfill the other 50, which means until you create a purchase order, get the other 50 into your warehouse. Only then it will process the complete 100 quantity in the item fulfillment. The third option is do not commit. Do not commit. What happens is, until you change this preference, you have to come here and change this preference to either available quantity or complete quantity. Only then the order can be processed, or else you cannot do anything. You click on this. It will show you all. The help is unavailable, connection timed out, and those have to be used for the other things as well. I mean, it's not only for the sale order. Just a second. There are certain things for transfer orders, for inventory adjustments. You see, this work order also has got the same options. Transfer order has it, and then sale order. All these are. You can specify what is your preference, but usually it is done as available quantity because we do not want the system to be stopping us from processing the orders, even if there are less number of quantities. Right? It depends on the business and how do they want to have this preference set up. You can name your pickback and ship status over here because in the rename records transactions, you won't have these three things available. Right? Since they're not available there, they've given us an option when we can rename them over here. All right items will be default. Items to 0 received fulfilled. I don't know what this does. Check this box, default items to unfulfilled. When you open up and you mark items you want to fulfill on the fulfill, clear this box to default items fulfilled. Then you clear the items you do not want to fulfill on. Oh, default items to 0 or fulfilled, which means when you're doing an item receipt or when you're doing item fulfillment, by default you want it as 0 initially, and someone can actually change that. They can specify what is the number of items they want to receive or number of items they want to fulfill, which usually is not the case. You want to default that to the quantity which is on the purchase order or which is on the sale order. You do not want that to be defaulted to 0, right? Let us say purchase order has got 10 quantity. Why would you want to default that to 0 on an item receipt? You do not want to do that, right? And that's how. I do not know what actually this does. I just read now and I understood what it is. Usually this is not selected on any transaction. Whenever you're doing an item receipt you want to have the same number of quantity that you have on purchase order. When you're doing an item fulfillment, you want to have the same number that you have on the sale order rather than having it as 0, right? You got it? I love overage on item fulfillments, which means the sale order is for 10 quantity, but do you want to ship out 12 is what this is. In some cases, you might want to do that, right? You got it? But why would you want to do that? I'll tell you why. The customer must have requested for 12 quantity after the sale order is completely. I mean, you are in the processing stage of a fulfillment, right? But the customer says that I want 12 instead of 10. You can actually do it 12 on an item fulfillment, and when you invoice, obviously you're going to invoice it for 12 and not for 10. You can say that the initial order was just for 10 quantity. But then somewhere down the lane, the customer said that it's not 10, I want 12 out of that quantity. Rather than changing it on sale order and then processing the item fulfillment again, you can actually do this. Do it directly on an item fulfillment, where in the invoicing would be done for 12 quantity and not for 10. There will be a variance from the sale order to your invoicing. If you remember, I was talking about the accounts, right? The variance accounts, right, on the accounting preferences. Those accounts are used for this purpose, wherein the sale order is for 10 quantity, but you have invoiced it for 12. There is a variance of 2 quantity with let's say, 20 amount on them. That variance will be posted to the other account. Do you want to send the order fulfillment confirmation emails is one that you can actually specify. This fulfill based on commitment, right? Limit to commitment, allow uncommitted is when you actually say that you can allow overage or item fulfillment. Only then this will be. Allow uncommitted will be available. If I click on this, it will show you enables. Enables you to fulfill a quantity greater than the quantity commit on an order. This may cause your quantity on hand count to be item negative. And then if you enable the below option, which is allow overage on item receipts, only then you can use this allow uncommitted option, right? It makes sense, right? You see this. If you enable the allow overage on item fulfillment preference, then fulfill based on commitment should be set to ignore, commit or allow uncommitted. You cannot have your allow overage on item fulfillments and then you cannot have it as limit to committed. This combination will not work. Hope you understood the difference. Yup. Yes. Whenever you select this, allow overage on item fulfillment, This either has to be allow uncommitted or ignore commitment. Got it all right now. Invoice and show unfulfilled items on invoices. Write unfulfilled in the sense I just have 50 quantity in my warehouse, but the sale order is for 100 quantity. Do you want to show the unfulfilled items on the invoices, saying that you know another 50 is a back order which will be fulfilled later on? You can select this invoice in advance of fulfillment, wherein without fulfilling the orders, you will still be able to invoice. The bill option will be available on the fulfillment form, even if you do not fulfill that right. I mean, in certain cases, the item is not yet fulfilled. It's not yet shipped out, but then you still want to bill. You want to invoice the customer. In that case, this helps. You got it? When you enable the dropship perform, I have enabled the dropship and special orders. Right, that is how I have this enable features. I'm sorry, accounting preferences enabled here. You got it. You can have a yum. There is a form which is standard dropship purchase order form. Or you can customize and allow the other one also. On a dropship fulfillment quantity validation, do you want to have? Do you want to allow unequal quantities or not? Which you do not want to do, right? Whatever is the sale order quantity, the vendor has to ship only that quantity, or else you will have a variance from what you have on the sale order quantity and then what you have on the vendor bill, right? Got it? Allow expenses on purchase orders. This I've already enabled yesterday to bring in the expenses on my purchase order, right? Allow the purchase of assembly items. When you have an assembly item, do you just want to manufacture that or do you want to purchase as well? Right? Which means there is an assembly item which can be built with 3 different bill of material, like Let us say I have a car, right? To build that car, I need to have a steering, I need to have my seat, I need to have an engine, I need to have a gearbox and on and forth, right? Do you want to purchase the car as a whole is what this option is, or do you just want to build it in your warehouse? You got it? I think we are almost done. What is the vendor bill default status? What is the transfer order default status? Everything has been put up over there, right? We're almost done with the accounting preferences here. This is the project's preferences, which we are not going to deal too much into it. Do you want to post the time based on the job or employee or the class, department or location? Is what you can enable it. When you say job, it is actually the project. But for the project, right? Remember that we created a division yesterday. Why is it not showing as a segment of that project? We have created a custom segment. Yes, yesterday, but for whatever reason, I think it's not showing. No, I've shown you right. But it's not showing under the project. The way you go to the project, it's not showing as part of the segments for selection. Oh, when I go to the project, it's not showing up. You're saying right because now you show me the classes, the department. I know that, but I didn't see the division. You're saying when we open the project, the custom segment is not showing up. Is that what the question was? But I think you showed us now for a second. You showed under the project screen. I saw department classes under the preferences, but I didn't see the division. Oh, journal entry. You mean the journal entry, right? I think you were showing something just a few minutes ago, like just a few seconds ago. What was I showing? Right here, this group by on, that is goodbye, goodbye. Job employee class department location, but the division. You're saying that, I got that. Let me see that. We'll go into the custom segment and we'll see what have we created over there, because this custom segment can be enabled only for a few options, right? If you remember. Let me go into the divisions again, the custom segment that we have created, and then if I scroll down, go to application and sourcing. If I scroll down, let me enable it for other web store transactions. All right. Alright, I can enable it for all the items. We have enabled it only for a few options, and that's why it's not showing up over there. Oh, that makes sense. Now that makes you see this project. If you want this custom segment to be available for everything, then you've got to enable all these options. That makes sense now. That's clear. You can have custom segment available for everything that you can do. Once I do that, maybe it will be available. But let me just check it out. I think it should be. But boys may take a while, because you are the trading. Right? Even if I enable it now, I still don't know if I can get that over here. But alright, it's not yet coming, but it will be available. Since I never projects, it will eventually be available. But you have to enable it for everything that you see over there. Makes sense. Alright. Right, time and expense. What do you want to? Have these preferences set to. All these things can be there. You know you want time billable by default, right? You can show your planned time in the time entries. Expenses billable by default, right? Billable to the project that you're working on. We already discussed about the approval, routing and balancing segments, and also I think we're done with the accounting preferences. Any questions on this? Accounting preferences to be no questions, no questions, no questions. Great, alright. Now, since we are done with the accounting preferences, let me just go in and see what is left out. I've already spoken about the rename, record, transactions. The auto-generated numbers, states, provinces, countries has done general preference. This is one other thing that we have to discuss. Generally, I can discuss that as well. And email preferences and all are normal. We've already created custom segments. We have seen how the subsidiaries department locations are there. This is the sandbox accounts. By the way, I don't know if I have access to that, but let me show that to you. This is the traffic help, and these are some of the billing questions. What are the billing terms of this account? And everything can be visible over here in the. This I do not have access to. I think that's why I don't get it. I blocked out of it. The other ones. I'll discuss the general preferences today. We will be done with this, all the preferences, and we'll go to the other things probably coming week. Alright. If your sandbox accounts is also blank. I don't have information for this, but let me see the billing. Alright, here you would be able to see the licenses. What are the billable components? What is the current provision quantity, how many licenses you've got for each bundle, what are the add-on modules and what are the add-on bundles. If you see, advanced billing is an add-on module, advanced financials, advanced revenue management, advanced procurement. I've been telling you that all these are add-on modules when we were discussing about it, right? If you remember, right, charge-based billing, the advanced revenue management, the advanced procurement, everything. All these do not come as part of your normal SKU. These are all add-on modules and add-on which have been enabled for us, like manufacturing, work in progress, right? Projects, you see this, projects, resource allocation, and everything is add-on again. Whatever we discussed far, you know all these are some of the add-on modules which usually, when I take the functional training, right, I don't include all these add-on modules. But since you wanted to know and out of NetSuite, I've been explaining your things, how you know these things actually work, right? And these are the add-on bundles. Again, you know the Oracle NetSuite OMS, which is Warehouse Management System, Project Task Manager, Employer Reports, all these are add-on bundles. And if you install the Fixed Assets Management, that is an add-on bundle as well. If you install Electronic Paying Payments, that is an add-on bundle as well. Dunning Letters is an add-on bundle. Right Resource, Skill Sets is an add-on bundle. All there you go. Fixed Assets Management, you see this is an add-on bundle as well. And all of this can be found on that billing information. Right, correct, absolutely. That's what is your billing information about. Let's close this down. Let's close down the. I'm not able to show you how the sandbox accounts actually look like. But then the information which will be on this page is how many refreshes you have per year and how many refreshes have already been completed. What is the start date of this account? All this information will be available on the sandbox accounts. Right now, coming to the general preferences, we have discussed about this briefly when we were saying that you can block the user from allowing override. I mean, if you allow override, then it will be available. But if you remove this checkbox, then the preferences will be grayed out for the users in their right reference. You remember that, right? Yep. That's about all we have in the override preferences, and there are certain things that you can enable and disable in the in this general preferences as well, which is what's your minimum password length for your suite. Well, if you specify anything below 8, it's not going to accept. This is the company-wide preference that you can set it up as an administrator. What's the password policy? Do you want that to be strong, weak, or medium? Weak is not recommended as of now. It's weak, but this is a test instance. That's how it's going to be password expiration in days. Do you want that to be expired in 60 days, 90 days, or 120 days? Whatever it is, you can specify that idle session timeout in minutes. Usually this is 30 minutes, it's not 300. 300 minutes would be way too much, right? I mean, it's like what? 500 minutes, that's too much. Probably it's 30 minutes or 60 minutes max that you would actually give and then you can pull in the logos, company logo, customer information, everything listed down here. You can see company wide. You can specify what's going to be your font preference as well. Screen font, right? But quick question though before you go on. Sorry, Kevin. In a situation whereby you are setting up multiple instances, can you set up all those preferences in one instance and just duplicate? Or you have to go through this process separately for multiple? By default, the screen font and everything would be set or automatically. There are some default values. It's not that you don't have to come to this company information page and do everything manually. But there are certain things which would be defaulted by NetSuite. You can choose to have them the way they are, or you can just come here and then this is a one time activity that you would be doing, right? I mean, it's not that you would be doing this on a daily basis. It's just a one time activity that you do. What's going to be your landing page for the people who log into next week? You can set this up as well. And what are the number of rows in a list segments whenever there is a drop down? How many entries do you want in a drop down? Usually it's around 50. I don't know who set it up as 200, but the maximum entries that you want to see in a drop down would be 50, and then you can go to the next page. It's not that you know it won't be visible, but you can go to the next page and see those maximum entries as well. System note. This is very one important feature of NetSuite is that on every transaction that you do, on every entry that you do, or on every workflow that you create, there is something called a system notes. Whenever you make a change, it will display what was the old value on that and what's your new value as well. Let us say I go to the accounts, I open any account. I don't know if it's going to be available for chart of accounts, but there you go. System note. If you scroll down, you would see who has said that, what was the time and what's the old value, what's the new value. Is it set to everything will be there? This preference that you have here, if you say log system notes on update only, which means if you create a new transaction, then it's not going to capture the system information, which is not ideal, right? Even when someone does a new transaction, even when someone creates a new entity, we need to know that there are some system logs for that. Usually this is not enabled. And then what's going to be your default customer type? Is it individual or company? What's the lead type? Is it individual or company? You can specify that. Of course, you can change that when you're creating it manually, but these are just the company-wide preferences which you can set it up. Auto activate contacts. Hide file cabinet. Hierarchical information, right? If you want to hide that, all these will show transactions numbering setup. Create automatic memorized transactions, right? There are certain. You can memorize transactions as well, which means you create a journal entry and then you want that journal entry to be repeated every fortnight or every 10 days or every week. In that case, NetSuite actually allows you to memorize that transaction wherein, let me show that to you. If you scroll down management, enter memorized, and then you can enter your account. And then you can enter your account. These two journal entries are memorized, which means when I go to my journal entry, I can memorize this transaction. Let me do one thing. Let's go to the list view journal entry. You can enter this as a memorized transaction. However, what I'm trying to check is when you're actually doing the transactions here on a journal entry, you will have an option to memorize that particular transaction. I don't see that here. This is memorized transactions. But how is it memorized? I go here and I enter journal entries. There you go. You see this. Just before I create the journal entry, I can say click on memorize. It automatically memorizes the transaction. Let me create one, put in a subsidiary. All right. And then I say memorize this. Oh, ha, 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 ha. Once I memorize this, if I go back to my memorized transactions and refresh it, that will be available for me. See this. Likewise, I can do this for purchase orders. I can do this for my sales orders, and I can do this for my journal entries. All these things. I can actually memorize them, and then whenever I want to, create, instead of going to the journal entry and doing all those things, I come here and I click on enter. It will automatically take me to that journal entry screen. I can click on save, and then it just creates a journal entry automatically. That is about your memorized transactions. Any questions? Any questions on that? No questions? It's great. Let's close this out. Close this out. Just remember these trends. Even if you don't remember the navigation, you can do this. That's the global search, right? I went into transactions because I know that, right? I scroll down under management. There is enter memorize the transactions. But if you don't remember that, you can do this as well. That's what automatically takes you to those screens, right? That's the advantage of global search. Now let's go back to the general preferences again. Create automatic transactions as system for the memorized transactions or not. I had an option to enter over there. But if I say create automatic memorized transactions, then I have to specify a date over there, and at that particular date, it will automatically create a memorized transaction. They allow subsidiary hierarchy to be modified, right, when you are actually doing an implementation. Initially, like probably the customer is still not aware as to what is their subsidiary structure. What do they want to create? Right up to 30 days. You can specify, right, like next month 21st till this date, I can allow the hierarchy change. It will give you all the important information. Like the existing financial statements may be lost with no possibility of recovery. Subsidiaries may get inactivated. Consolidated budget rates might change. Order elimination journal entries may post to the incorrect elimination subsidiary. Just in case, if you're altering the subsidiaries after you make the transactions, if you're making any transaction for that matter, let us say you've put 10 journal entries like 15 purchase orders and sale orders, and then you're trying to change the subsidiary hierarchy, right? In that case, everything's going to change the reporting structure. You might lose certain financial statements, and you can have a lot of impact when you're changing the subsidiary structure, right? It gives you a pop-up warning saying that all these things might happen if you enable them to change. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.